The massive ship drifted through the cold darkness of space, its hull torn and twisted from the recent impact. Inside the vessel called Peaceful Horizon, alien crew members rushed through corridors filled with flashing red lights and the sound of alarms. Ship that had once been a symbol of peaceful trade between 12 different alien species was now a broken shell. Fighting for survival, Captain Velter stood on the bridge, his tall, crystalline body reflecting the emergency lights and patterns of worry. His species, the Zephyrians, had evolved on a world of gentle breezes and soft rains. Their bodies were made of a living crystal that could bend and flow. But they were fragile compared to the harsh realities of space. The captain's normally calm blue glow had turned to a worried yellow as he watched his crew struggle with problems they had never faced before. Report said to his engineering officer, a small green creature named Clicks from the amphibious Krell species. Clicks' large eyes were wide with fear as he looked at the damage readings on his screen. Captain, the asteroid field tore through our main engines, Click said in his high, squeaky voice. The power systems are failing, and our life support will only last another 6 hours. We cannot fix this ourselves. Belter felt a chill run through his crystal form. The Peaceful Horizon carried over 300 crew members from different species, all of them evolved on worlds where survival was easy. They were traders, diplomats, and scholars, not engineers or fighters. None of them had ever dealt with a real emergency like this. What about the other ships in the area? Velter asked. None, Captain, replied Senna, a being of pure energy, who served as their communications officer. The Luminari species appeared as glowing balls of light that could speak through vibrations in the air. The nearest trading vessel is for days. We will not survive that long. Belter looked around his bridge at the frightened faces of his crew, Zephyrians, Krellix, Luminari, and 9 other species. All shared one thing in common. They had all evolved on worlds where nature was kind to them. Their planets had mild weather, plenty of food, and no dangerous predators. Because of this, they had developed advanced technology and peaceful societies, but they had never learned to deal with real danger. Send out a distress signal, Velter ordered. Broadcast on all frequencies. Someone must help us. Nervous Krells, who worked the communication systems, began sending the message. His webbed fingers moved quickly over the controls as he sent out their plea for help into the vast emptiness of space. This is the galactic commerce vessel Peaceful Horizon. The message began. We are stranded and require immediate assistance. Our engines are destroyed, and our life support is failing. We have over 300 crew members from 12 different species. Please, if anyone can hear this, we need help. The message went out in dozens of different languages, hoping that someone somewhere would receive it and come to their aid. But as the hours passed, no one responded. The alien crew began to lose hope as their ship continued to lose power and their air grew thinner. Far away, in a different part of space, the human exploration ship New Frontier moved steadily through the starfield. The ship was smaller than the Peaceful Horizon, but it looked much more solid and dangerous. Its hull was dark gray. Metal and weapon systems could be seen along its sides to anyone looking at it. The New Frontier appeared to be built for war, not peace. On the bridge of the human ship, Captain Jake Morrison sat in his command chair, reading reports from his crew. Jake was a tall man with broad shoulders and strong hands, the kind of person who looked like he could handle any problem. His brown hair was cut short in military style, and his blue eyes showed the confidence of someone who had faced danger many times before. Captain said. Lieutenant Amy Collins from her position at the communication station. Amy was a young woman with red hair and quick green eyes. She was smart and could work with any kind of technology, but she also had the kind of alertness that came from growing up in a world where danger was always possible. I'm picking up something strange, Amy continued. It's a distress signal, but it's not from any human ship. The language is completely different, and there are multiple species sending the same message. Jake leaned forward in his chair. Multiple species, are you sure? Yes, sir. The computer is having trouble translating it, but it seems to be coming from some kind of trading vessel. They're in serious trouble. Jake stood up and walked over to Amy's station. On her screen, he could see the signal data and the computer's attempts to translate the alien languages. The message was clearly a cry for help, even though the words were strange. How far away are they? Jake asked. It's about 2 hours at full speed, Amy replied, but Captain, we don't know anything about these aliens. They could be dangerous. Jake looked around his bridge at his crew. Chief Engineer Pete Williams was a big man with calloused hands who could fix anything. Dr. Lisa Brooks, their medical officer, was a small woman with kind eyes who had saved more lives than anyone could count. First Officer Kate Sullivan was tough and smart, the kind of person who could make hard decisions when needed. Security Chief Don Roberts was quiet, but always ready to protect his crew. These people had all grown up on Earth, a world that had tried to kill their ancestors every single day. They had learned to survive ice ages, volcanic eruptions, diseases, predators, and countless wars. Earth was not a kind planet, but it had made humans strong and resourceful. Sir, said Kate Sullivan, there are no other ships responding to their distress call. If we don't help them, they'll die. Jake nodded slowly. He had been taught since childhood that when someone needed help, you helped them. It was a simple rule that humans had learned during their long struggle to survive on Earth. You helped others, 'cause someday you might need help yourself. Set course for their position, Jake ordered. Full speed. Are you sure about this, Captain? Asked Dan Roberts. We don't know what we're walking into. Gray looked at his security chief and smiled. Don, they're sending a distress signal. They're not trying to trick us or attack us, and they're dying, and we're the only ones who can help them. As the new frontier changed course and sped toward the alien ship, none of the humans realized what they were about to start. They had no idea that the galaxy was filled with species that had evolved on easy worlds, species that had never learned to fight or survive real danger. Oh, and GT, they didn't know that these peaceful aliens had heard stories about something called Deathworlders, creatures from planets so dangerous that they were considered myths. The humans were simply doing what felt natural to them. Someone needed help, so they would help. It was a basic human instinct that had kept their species alive for millions of years. On the peaceful horizon, the alien crew continued to wait for rescue as their ship slowly died around them. They had no idea that their saviors were already on the way, or that these saviors came from the kind of world that existed only in their nightmares. Captain stood on his bridge, watching his crew work desperately to keep their ship alive just a little longer. His crystal body had turned a deep blue with worry, and he wondered if they would survive to see another day. "Keep sending the signal," he told Pipk. "Someone has to hear us." Little did he know that someone already had, and that someone was about to change everything. The galaxy thought it knew about what it meant to be strong. The new frontier dropped out of faster-than-light travel. With a flash of blue light, Captain Jake Morrison stood on his bridge looking at the massive alien ship that appeared on their main screen. The vessel was unlike anything humans had ever seen before. Was smooth and curved with a white hull that seemed to glow softly in the starlight. Beautiful patterns of light moved across its surface, but Jake could see the ugly tears in the metal where the asteroids had hit. "There she is," said First Officer Kate Sullivan, standing beside her captain. "She's big. About 3 times our size. I can see the damage from here." Jake nodded as he studied the alien ship. "Any weapons?" "None that I can see," replied Security Chief Dan Roberts from his station. "The whole ship looks like it was built for peaceful purposes. No armor, no gunports, nothing defensive at all." "Strange way to build a ship," muttered Chief Engineer Pete Williams. "Out here in space, you never know what you might run into." Jake activated the communication system. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth vessel New Frontier. We received your distress signal and are here to help. Please respond." There was a long pause before voice answered. The ship's computer worked quickly to translate the alien language into English. "This is Captain Velter of the Peaceful Horizon. We are grateful for your response, but we do not know your species. What is Earth?" "Earth is our home planet," Jake replied. "We're humans. We're here to help you with your repairs and get your people to safety." Another pause. This one even longer. Jake could hear voices talking in the background, but the translation system couldn't pick up what they were saying. Finally, Captain Velter spoke again. "We have never heard of humans before. Your ship appears to be heavily armed, a military vessel." Jake looked around his bridge. The New Frontier was an exploration ship, but like all human vessels, it carried weapons for protection. In the dangerous universe where humans lived, only a fool would travel without the ability to defend themselves. "We are an exploration vessel," Jake said carefully. "We carry defensive weapons for protection, but we mean you no harm. We only want to help." "Defensive weapons?" Felter's translated voice sounded confused. "Your ship has more weapons than most military vessels in our space," Kate Sullivan whispered to Jake. "Captain, I think these aliens come from a very different kind of place than we do." Jake nodded and spoke into the communicator again. "Captain, we understand your concern, but we are not here to hurt you. Your ship is dying, and your people need help. Will you allow us to come aboard and assist with repairs?" The wait this time was very long. Jake could imagine the alien captain discussing the situation with his crew. Finally, the response came. "We will allow 3 of your people to board our ship. Please understand that we are a peaceful species and mean no harm to you either." "Understood," Jake replied. "We and LT Unc and GT LL be over in a few minutes." Jake turned to his crew. "Okay, Dan, you're With me, Pete, start scanning their ship and figure out what kind of repairs they need. Amy, keep monitoring their communications. Dr. Brooks, prepare the medical bay in case they have injured. As the three humans prepared to board the alien ship, they had no idea of the panic they were about to cause. On the peaceful horizon, Captain Velter was having the most difficult conversation of his life. Captain said Pipto, the small Krellix communications officer. Their ship is covered in weapons. Look at these scans. They have energy cannons, missile launchers, and defensive shields that are stronger than anything we've ever seen. But they say they're here to help, Velter replied, though his crystal body was glowing with worry. What kind of species builds exploration ships like that? Asked Sina. The Luminari energy being. Even our military vessels don't carry that much firepower. Velter studied the images of the human ship on his screen. To his eyes, it looked like a vessel built for war. The dark hole, the angular design, the obvious weapon systems, everything about it screamed danger. But the humans had responded to their distress call when no one else had, and his crew was running out of time. They will dock with our ship in Bay 7, Velter announced. All crew members are to remain calm and avoid any actions that might be seen as threatening. The small human shuttle attached to the alien ship. With a soft clang, Dake, Kate, and Dan stepped through the airlock and got their first look at the inside of an alien vessel. The corridors were wide and bright with soft lighting that seemed to come from the walls themselves. Everything was curved and smooth with no sharp edges anywhere. This is beautiful, Kate said, quietly looking around at the alien architecture. And completely defenseless, Dan added. No security checkpoints, no blast doors, no choke points. If someone wanted to take this ship, they could do it easily. Jake was thinking the same thing. The alien ship was built by people who had never expected to be attacked. Every human ship had multiple security measures, backup systems, and ways to fight off boarders. The ship had none of that. They walked through the corridors following the directions they had been given. Alien crew members stopped and stared at them as they passed. Jake noticed that all the aliens seemed small and fragile compared to humans. Their movements were slow and careful, as if they were afraid of hurting themselves. When they reached the bridge, Jake got his first look at Captain Velter. The alien was tall and thin, made of what looked like living crystal. His body was glowing with a nervous yellow light, and Jake could see his fear in the way he held himself. Captain R., Jake said, stepping forward with his hand extended. I'm Captain Jake Morrison. Thank you for allowing us aboard your ship. Velter looked at the offered hand for a long moment, then carefully reached out and touched Jake's fingers with his own crystal ones. The alien's hand was cold and felt like it might break if Jake squeezed too hard. Welcome aboard the peaceful horizon, Velter said. We are grateful for your help, though we admit we are nervous about your presence. Nervous? Jake asked. Why? Your appearance is quite intimidating, Velter replied carefully. Your species appears to be built for combat. Your muscles, your bone structure, even the way you move suggests you are predators. Jake looked at Kate and Dan, both of whom seemed as surprised as he was. To humans, they were just normal people. Jake was in good shape, but he didn't think of himself as particularly threatening. We're not predators, Jake said gently. We're just people trying to help. Perhaps, Velter said, but you carry yourself like hunters, your eyes constantly scan for threats, your bodies are ready for action at any moment. These are not the traits of a peaceful species. Kate stepped forward, trying to look as non-threatening as possible. Captain, we understand your concern, but we really are here to help. Can you show us the damage to your ship? Velter led them to the engineering section where the asteroid impacts had torn through the hull. Jake examined the damage and immediately saw the problem. The aliens had tried to fix the holes with emergency patches, but the work was clumsy and wouldn't hold for long. This is going to require work in areas with high radiation, Jake said, looking at the readings on his scanner. The levels are dangerous for most life forms. Yes, said Clicks, the small green engineer who had been following them. We cannot enter those areas without special equipment that we do not have. No problem, Jake replied. Radiation levels aren't that bad. We can work in there with basic protective gear. The alien stared at him in shock. Click's large eyes grew even wider. Captain Morrison, those radiation levels would kill any of our species within minutes. How can you possibly survive in there? Was beginning to understand that these aliens were very different from humans. We're pretty tough, he said with a shrug. Radiation like this is dangerous, but not immediately deadly to us. Not immediately deadly, Belter repeated. What kind of world do you come from where such things are not immediately deadly? Earth, Jake replied. It's a pretty rough place, but it's home. As the aliens listened to Jake describe some of the dangers of Earth, the storms, the radiation from their sun, the poisonous atmosphere in some areas, they began to realize that these humans might be something they had only heard about in stories. Your world sounds like a death world, Velter said quietly. What? Jake asked. A death world, a planet so dangerous that life should not be able to exist there. We thought they were myths. Jake looked at his two officers, both of whom seemed as confused as he was. I don't know about that. Earth is just Earth. It's where we come from. But as the humans began to work on the repairs, the aliens watched in amazement and growing fear. These beings who called themselves human were about to show them what it meant to come from a world that tried to kill you every day. Chief Engineer Pete Williams stood at the entrance to the damaged engine room, checking his radiation detector. The small device beeped steadily, showing levels that would be deadly to the alien crew within minutes. Pete looked at the readings and shrugged. It was dangerous, but nothing he couldn't handle with the right equipment. Okay, boys, Pete called to the two human technicians who had come over from the new frontier. Suit up. We're going into a hot zone. The aliens watched in amazement as the humans put on what looked like very basic protective gear. Their suits were thick but simple, nothing like the heavy radiation armor the aliens would need for such work. To the alien crew, it looked like the humans were preparing to walk into certain death. Are you sure about this? Asked Clicks, the small green engineer. His large eyes were filled with worry as he watched Pete check his equipment. The radiation in there will kill you. No, Pete replied with a grin. This is nothing compared to some of the places I've worked. Back on Earth, I once had to fix a reactor that was leaking twice as much radiation as this. Just part of the job, Velter. The crystal captain moved closer to Jake. Morrison, Captain, your engineer, speaks of working in lethal radiation as if it were normal. What kind of world is this Earth of yours? Jake thought, for a moment trying to figure out how to explain Earths to beings who had never known real danger. Well, it's not an easy place to live, he said finally. We have storms that can destroy entire cities, earthquakes that split the ground open, and volcanoes that can block out the sun for months. The air itself can be poisonous in some places, and the water can kill you if you're not careful. Aliens listened in shocked silence. Pipdog, the small communications officer, made a squeaking sound that might have been fear. How does any life survive on such a world? You learn to adapt, Kate Sullivan said. You get stronger, smarter, more careful. You learn to work together because if you don't, you die. But surely your people live in protected cities, Senna. The energy being asked, surely you don't go out into such dangers willingly? Of course we do, Dan Roberts replied. Some of the best parts of Earth are in the most dangerous places: mountains, deep forest, ocean depths. We don't hide from danger. We learn to deal with it. As Pete and his team entered the radiation-flooded engine room, the aliens watched through the thick protective windows, expected to see the humans die within minutes. But instead they saw something that amazed them. Humans worked quickly and efficiently, moving heavy equipment and making complex repairs while chatting casually with each other. Hand me that plasma torch, Pete called to one of his men. We need to cut through this twisted metal. You got it, boss, the technician replied. This reminds me of that job we did on Jupiter's moon. Remember when the solar flare hit us? Yeah, good times, Pete laughed. At least this time, we're not also dealing with a methane atmosphere and gravity that wants to crush us. The aliens couldn't believe what they were hearing. These humans were talking about deadly radiation, poisonous atmospheres, and crushing gravity as if they were minor inconveniences. Oh, Tar's crystal body was glowing bright orange with shock. Captain Morrison, Belter said quietly, your people speak of dangers that would end civilizations as if they were everyday problems. What manner of beings are you? Jake was starting to understand that humans were very different from these aliens. We're just people, he said. We do what we have to do to survive, but survival should not require such things, Velter replied. On our worlds the weather is gentle, the ground is stable, and the air is clean. We have never had to face such dangers. What about predators? Kate asked. Dangerous animals, diseases. Predators, Pip Talk squeaked. What are predators? Jake and Kate exchanged glances. Animals that hunt and kill other animals for food, Jake explained. The aliens looked horrified. Such creatures exist on your world? Velter asked. All over the place, Dan said. Bears, wolves, sharks, snakes, thousands of different species that can kill you if you're not careful. We learn to avoid them or fight them off. Fight them, Clicks whispered. You fight the predators? Sure, Don replied. Sometimes that's the only way to survive. My grandfather once killed a mountain lion with just a knife when it attacked his family. Aliens were quiet for a long moment, trying to process this information. Finally, Senna spoke up. Captain Morrison, we have heard legends of worlds like yours, places so dangerous that they were thought to be myths. We call them Deathworlds. Death worlds? Jake asked. Planets where everything tries to kill you. Explained. Where the weather, the Animals, the very ground itself is hostile to life, we thought they were. Stories told to frighten children. Sounds like Earth, Kate said with a smile, though we just call it home. Dr. Lisa Brooks chose that moment to enter the engineering section, carrying her medical bag. She had been treating some of the injured alien crew members, and her presence caused another stir among the aliens. "How are our patients doing, doctor?" Jake asked. "Much better," Lisa replied. "Their injuries weren't too serious. Just some cuts and bruises from the impact. I was able to patch them up quickly," Dr. Brooks Velter said. "Carefully, we observed your treatment of our injured crew. You performed medical procedures that our doctors would consider extreme surgery, and you did it without any surgical equipment. Field medicine," Lisa explained. "When people get hurt in dangerous places, you can't always get them to hospital. You learn to work with what you have, but the way you handled the blood, the torn flesh," Click said with a shudder, "it did not seem to bother you at all." Lisa looked puzzled. "Should it bother me? I'm a doctor. Blood and injuries are part of the job on our worlds," Velter explained. "Medical professionals work in clean, sterile environments. The sight of serious injuries is disturbing to us. Yet you worked on our wounded as if it were nothing." "Well," Lisa said, "I've treated everything from gunshot wounds to animal attacks to radiation poisoning. Your crew's injuries were pretty minor compared to some of the things I've seen." Just then Pete's voice came over the communicator from the engine room. "Captain, we've got the main power restored, but there's something else you need to know. I found metal fragments in the engine room that don't match the ship's construction." "What kind of fragments?" Jake asked. "Weapons fragments," Pete replied. "This wasn't an accident. Someone shot missiles into that asteroid field to create the debris that hit this ship." The aliens gasped in fear. "Someone attacked us?" Velter asked. Don Roberts was already at his scanner checking for threats. "Captain, I'm picking up multiple ships approaching our position. They're not broadcasting any identification signals." Jake's expression hardened. "Battle stations. Crew, prepare for possible combat." Aliens watched in amazement as the humans instantly transformed from helpful repair workers into a military unit. Their movements became sharp and focused, their casual conversation replaced by quick, efficient orders. "Kate, get back to the ship and prepare our defenses," Jake ordered Dan. "Coordinate with our weapons officer. Lisa, get the alien wounded to safety." "What about us?" Velter asked. "What can we do?" "Stay out of the way," Jake said, not unkindly. "If these are raiders, they're coming for your ship. We'll handle it." "Handle it," Velter repeated. "There are 6 ships approaching." "How can you handle 6 ships?" Jake looked at the Crystal Captain with a calm expression that somehow managed to be both reassuring and terrifying. "Captain, we're from Earth. We know how to fight." As the humans prepared for battle, the aliens began to understand that they had been rescued by beings from a world so dangerous that it had created a species unlike any other in the galaxy. These humans didn't just survive in deadly conditions, they thrived in them. Approaching ships had no idea what they were about to face. They expected to find a helpless merchant vessel, an easy prey. Instead, they were about to meet the children of a death world and learn why civilizations across the galaxy would one day speak of humans in whispered, respectful tones. The 6 Raider ships dropped out of faster than light travel in a perfect attack formation. Their holes were dark and covered with weapon systems designed to strike fear into the hearts of peaceful traders. These were Scaran vessels, built by a species that had turned violence into an art form. Wararkeef Thrianos sat in the command chair of the lead ship, his red eyes glowing with anticipation. The Scarans were one of the few truly aggressive species in the galaxy, with thick armor-like skin and natural weapons in the form of razor-sharp claws. They had been tracking the peaceful horizon for days, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Perfect, Thracinos growled to his crew. The merchant ship is disabled just as we planned. We will take their cargo and sell their crew into slavery. This will bring us great profit, Wararkeef said. His communications officer, there is another ship present. It appears to be attached to the merchant vessel. Thanos looked at the screen showing the human ship. The New Frontier was much smaller than his own vessels, but something about its design made him pause. It looked dangerous in a way that was hard to explain. Hail them, he ordered. Let us see what kind of fools have decided to interfere with our business. The communication came through to the New Frontier's bridge, where Captain Jake Morrison was coordinating the defense. Translation system worked quickly to convert the Scaran language into English. Unknown vessel, Thracianos. Sois came through the speakers. You're interfering with a legitimate salvage operation. Remove yourself from this area immediately or face the consequences. Jake looked at his crew, all of whom were now at their battle stations. Lieutenant Amy Collins was managing the ship's defensive systems while monitoring enemy communications. First Officer Kate Sullivan had returned from the alien ship and was coordinating damage control. Security Chief Dan Roberts was at the weapons station, his hands moving quickly over the controls. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth vessel New Frontier, Jake replied calmly. The peaceful horizon is under our protection. Any attack on that ship will be considered an act of war against humanity. There was a pause, then harsh laughter came through the speakers. Humanity, we have never heard of such a species, are clearly new to this part of space. So I will give you one more chance. Leave now or we will destroy you along with the merchant ship. Jake's expression didn't change, but his crew could see the cold anger in his eyes. Wararkeef, I strongly suggest you reconsider. This is your only warning. Warning, Thrakino snarled. You dare threaten us? We're the Scaran Empire. We have conquered dozens of worlds and enslaved millions. Your tiny ship is no match for our fleet. Then you have made your choice, Jake said quietly. All stations prepare for combat. On the peaceful horizon, the alien crew watched in terror as the raider ships moved into attack position. They had never seen real combat before, and the sight of the armed vessels filled them with despair. Captain Morrison Velter said over the communication link, there are 6 of them and only one of you. You must retreat while you still can. Not going to happen, Jake replied. We said we'd protect you, and that's what we're going to do. But this is suicide, protested House and GT. No single ship can defeat 6 raiders. Maybe not, Jake said, but we're about to find out. The battle began when the Scaran ships opened fire with their primary weapons. Beams of energy and explosive missiles streaked toward the New Frontier. enough firepower to destroy most ships instantly, but the human vessel was ready, evasive. Maneuvers, Jake ordered. Amy, activate. Countermeasures, the new frontier moved. With a speed and grace that shocked both the aliens and the raiders. The ship twisted and turned through the enemy. Fire, its pilot reacting with reflexes that seemed impossible. At the same time, defensive systems shot down incoming missiles and deflected energy beams. It's impossible, Thrakonos growled. No ship can move like that. But Jake was just getting started. Dawn, target their lead ship. Let's show them what Earth weapons can do. The new Frontier's guns opened fire, sending streams of energy toward the Scaran fleet. The aliens watching from the peaceful horizon gasped in amazement. The human weapons were not just powerful, they were precise. Each shot hit exactly where it was aimed, striking weak points in the enemy armor. Direct hit on their primary weapon system. Dan reported, their shields are down to 60%. Again, Jake ordered. Amy, jam their communications. I don't want them coordinating their attack. Amy's fingers flew over her controls, and suddenly the Scaran ships found themselves unable to talk to each other. Their formation began to break apart as each ship tried to fight independently. How are they doing this? Thrakonos demanded. Our ships are larger and more heavily armed. His weapons officer, a scarred veteran of many battles, looked at his readings with growing fear. War Archief, their ship is using tactics I have never seen before. They are fighting like they know exactly what we will do before we do it. On the new Frontier, the crew worked together with an efficiency that amazed the watching aliens. Humans seemed to know exactly what the others were thinking, responding to orders before they were given, and anticipating problems before they happened. Kate, reroute power from life support to weapons. Jake ordered. We can hold our breath for a few minutes. Already done, Kate replied. Weapons are at 120% power. Pete, how are the engines holding up? Jake asked. Running hot but stable, came Pete's voice from the engine room. I can give you another 10 minutes at full power, maybe 15 if you don't mind some smoke. Dr. Lisa Brooks was in the medical bay treating 2 crew members who had been injured when a Scaran missile got too close. She worked quickly and efficiently, keeping the wounded in the fight. Murphy, you're good to go, she told one of the technicians. Johnson, you need to stay here for another few minutes, but you'll be fine. The battle continued for what seemed like hours, but was actually only minutes. And GT, ow, the new Frontier darted between the larger Scaran ships, striking hard and fast before moving to a new position. One by one, the enemy vessels began to take serious damage. Their second ship is disabled, Don reported. The third ship is retreating. Let them go, Jake said. Focus on the remaining 3. Thrakonos was beginning to understand that he had made a terrible mistake. These humans fought like demons with a skill and ferocity that he had never encountered. His ships were being destroyed by a single vessel that should have been easy prey. All ships concentrate fire on the human ship, he ordered. We must destroy them before they destroy us. The remaining Scaran vessels focused their attack on the new Frontier, pouring everything they had into a single massive barrage. For a moment, it looked like the human ship might be overwhelmed, but Jake had been waiting for this. Now Amy hit them With everything we've got, the new Frontier's main weapons charged to maximum power fired at the clustered enemy ships. The beams of energy tore through the Scarran vessels like paper, destroying 2 ships instantly and crippling the third. Only Thriano's ship remained, and it was badly damaged. The Wararkeef stared at his screens in disbelief. His entire fleet had been destroyed by a single human vessel. "This is impossible," he whispered. "What kind of beings are you?" Jake's voice came over the communication system, calm and steady. "We're humans. Wararkeef come from a world that taught us how to fight. You attacked innocent people under our protection. Is what happens when you make that mistake." Thrachinos looked at his damaged ship, his dead crew, and the wreckage of his fleet. "We surrender," he said finally. "Show mercy. You'll get the same mercy you plan to show the crew of the Peaceful Horizon." Jake replied, "Run. Run back to your empire and tell them what happened here. Tell them that humans protect those who cannot protect themselves." The surviving Scarran ship limped away, its Wararkeef forever changed by his encounter with the children of Earth. On the Peaceful Horizon, the alien crew stared in amazement at the humans who had just saved their lives. "Credible," whispered. 6 ships destroyed by 1. How is such a thing possible?" "They're from a death world," Senna replied quietly. "They learn to fight by fighting their own planet every day. We never had a chance to develop such skills. The battle was over, but the galaxy would never be the same." Word of the humans and their incredible fighting ability would spread to every corner of known space, changing the balance of power forever. The space around the 2 ships was filled with the glowing wreckage of the Scarran fleet. Twisted metal and debris drifted slowly past the windows of the Peaceful Horizon, silent reminders of the battle that had just ended. The alien crew pressed their faces against the viewing ports, still unable to believe what they had witnessed. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the New Frontier, checking damage reports from his crew. The ship had taken some hits during the battle, but nothing serious. His people were already working to repair the minor damage, moving with the same calm efficiency they had shown during the fight. "All stations report ready," Kate Sullivan announced. "Minor damage to the outer hull, but all systems are functioning normally. Good work, everyone," Jake said to his crew. "Amy, open a channel to the Peaceful Horizon." "Channel open, Captain," Amy Collins replied. "Captain, this is Captain Morrison. The threat has been eliminated. Are you and your crew safe?" There was a long pause before his voice came through the speakers, filled with awe and gratitude. "We are safe, Captain Morrison, thanks to you and your crew. We are all safe. We have no words to express our gratitude, but thanks necessary," Jake replied. "We just did what anyone would do." "No," said firmly. "What you did was extraordinary. No one in the galaxy fights like that. No one in the galaxy could have saved us the way you did." Jake looked around his bridge at his crew, all of whom seemed puzzled by the aliens' reaction. To them, they had simply done their job. They had protected innocent people from attackers, just as humans had been doing for thousands of years. "Pete, how are the repairs coming on their ship?" Jake asked. "Almost finished, Captain." Came Pete Williams' voice from the alien vessel. "Just a few more hours and they'll be good as new, maybe better than new. Actually, I've made some improvements to their power systems." "Improvements?" Belter asked. Yeah, Pete replied cheerfully. Your ship's pretty advanced, but your safety systems are terrible. I've added some backup systems and emergency protocols, something like this happens again, you'll be able to handle it better. The aliens listened in amazement as Pete described modifications he had made to their ship. Emergency power systems, radiation, shielding, automated repair protocols. All things that humans considered basic. Safety equipment that the peaceful aliens had never thought to include. You have given us weapons as well. Observed. Defensive systems only, Pete corrected. Shields, point defense guns. Electronic countermeasures, nothing. Aggressive, just enough to protect yourselves if you run into trouble. We do not know how to use such systems. Clicks, the small engineer said. Nervously, don't worry, Pete replied. I've programmed them to work automatically. If someone attacks you, they'll activate on their own, simple as that. Dr. Lisa Brooks was in the alien medical bay checking on the crew members who had been injured during the initial asteroid impact. Her treatment had been so effective that most of them were already back on duty, something that amazed the alien medical staff. Your healing techniques are remarkable, said Dr. Yellen, the ship's chief medical officer. The tall, graceful alien moved like a dancer, but her large eyes showed deep respect for the human doctor. Just standard field medicine, Lisa replied as she finished examining a Krell's patient. You come from a world where people get hurt a lot. You learn to fix them quickly, but your knowledge of different species biology, Dr. Yellen continued, how did you learn to treat us so effectively? Lisa smiled. Basic anatomy is pretty similar across most species. You just have to understand how different body systems work. Plus, I've had to treat everything from humans to dolphins to genetically modified animals. Alien biology isn't that different. The alien doctor stared at her. You treat non-sentient animals. Of course, Lisa said. All life has value. We save what we can, whether it's human or animal or alien. As the repair continued, the crew of the peaceful Horizon learned more about these remarkable humans. They discovered that humans routinely risked their lives to save others, that they considered it normal to enter dangerous situations to help people they had never met on our worlds. Velter explained to Jake, we help each other, but we do not put ourselves in danger to do so. The idea of risking your life for strangers is unknown to us. Really? Jake asked, genuinely surprised. But what happens when someone Ray is in trouble? We call for help from the authorities, Velter replied. We do not take action ourselves. But what if there are no authorities around? Kate Sullivan asked. What if you're the only one who can help and we wait? Velter said sadly, we are not equipped to handle danger. We're not trained for it. We're not built for it. The humans exchanged glances, beginning to understand how different their species really were. On Earth, every human child learned basic first aid, basic self-defense, and the importance of helping others. It was part of being human. Captain Morrison said formally, I would like to make a proposal. What kind of proposal? Jake asked. My ship carries ambassadors from 12 different species, Velter explained. We are returning to the galactic core worlds, where the great governments meet. I would like to invite you and your crew to come with us. Why? Jake asked. Because the galaxy needs to know about humanity, Velter said. We need to know that there are beings like you out They're beings who can protect us from threats we cannot handle ourselves. Jake thought about it for a moment. The new frontier was an exploration ship sent to make contact with new species and learn about the galaxy. This seemed like the perfect opportunity. We accept, Jake said, but we're not looking to become anyone's protectors, just explorers trying to learn about the universe. Perhaps, Velter said, but word of what happened here will spread. The Scaran Empire will tell others about the humans who destroyed their fleet. Pirates and raiders across the galaxy will learn to fear your name, and peaceful species will learn to hope for it, added Senna. The energy being you have given us, something we never had before, the knowledge that someone will come if we call for help. As the repairs were completed, the two ships prepared to travel together toward the galactic core. The aliens had learned that humans were not just another species, they were something completely new, a species that combined the ability to destroy with the choice to protect. Captain Amy Collins said quietly, I've been monitoring communications across the sector. Word of the battle is already spreading. They're calling us the demons who protect the innocent and the warriors from the death realm. Jake sighed. Great, I hope this doesn't cause problems. On the contrary, said, this will cause exactly the right kind of problems. The evil will fear you and the good will welcome you. This is how legends begin as the new frontier and the peaceful horizon engaged there. Faster than light drives and headed toward the galactic core. Neither crew knew that they were about to change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. In the weeks that followed, the story of the battle spread from world to world. The tale grew with each telling, but the core truth remained the same. There was a new species in the galaxy, one that came from a world so dangerous it had created beings of incredible power and surprising mercy. Some species began to hope that these humans might protect them from the dangers of the galaxy. Others began to fear that these Deathworlders might decide to conquer rather than protect. But on the ship New Frontier, Captain Jake Morrison and his crew simply continued their mission of exploration, unaware that they had just announced humanity's arrival on the galactic stage in the most dramatic way possible. The galaxy would never be the same. The age of human protection had begun, started by a simple response to a distress call from strangers who had never expected Deathworlders to care about anyone but themselves. The universe was about to learn that humans were full of surprises, and the biggest surprise of all was that the most dangerous species in the galaxy might also be the most compassionate.